Welcome back. The ANC says South Africa's third election as a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council is a victory for peace and an opportunity to address the root causes of conflict. Our guest now is Minister Lindiwe Zulu, the chairperson of the ANC International Relations Subcommittee. Minister, welcome to the show. We've been in this position before, twice, in fact, 2007 and 2011 to 2012. What does it mean this time? What's so different?
It still means that those that voted us into the position still have confidence in South Africa.
Do we have confidence in ourselves?
Oh, yes. Look at us. We do have confidence in ourselves. Look, we have confidence because we're a democracy of 24 years. Plus minus. And if we compare ourselves to other places that went through not exactly the same situation as us, I think that we've done very well. We've had challenges, which continue to be challenges. But the bottom line is that when the United Nations member states decide that they have to elect you into that position, you must have done something that impressed them enough for them to believe you're going to further contribute towards creating peace, security, and stability.
What I'm asking is, what have we done that says South Africa is going to make a difference?
Peace, security, and stability starts with ourselves as South Africa. If we look at what we have done as a country from a peace, security, and stability point of view, and ensuring that there is peace, we have done quite well. Yes, I know that there are political challenges in some areas where people are still thinking that the best way of dealing with politics with each other is maybe to kill somebody. But if we look at the overall picture of where we were prior to 1994, and from 1994, also recall that the United Nations was also here. The blue berets, the blue helmets were here in South Africa, and we thank them very much for being here, but we did say that we were going to be able to manage the situation ourselves.
I agree with you. So I think if I were to put my theory to you, we had a trajectory where under President Mandela and President Zuma going to Burundi, for example, or the DRC, and, you know, helping broker peace there. You had the African Renaissance under Thabo Mbeki. I would put it to you that in the period between 2009, when you were envoy to Zimbabwe for the president of our country, through to this year, we've been a little bit, we've lost our reputation as a human rights leader on the world stage.
I don't think we have, because if we had lost that, believe me, I wouldn't have been in Brussels the past week talking about the role that South Africa is playing in as far as the international platform is concerned. President Cyril Ramaphosa wouldn't have been in Canada. Minister Lindiwe Zulu wouldn't have been in the United Nations actually presenting and thanking everyone that has given us this huge responsibility, by the way. Look, the issues of global challenges that we face today are really, really quite serious and quite big. If you look at what's happening in other countries where the war is ongoing non-stop, this is what South Africa has tried to maintain within South Africa itself, to say, let's see peace, security, and stability. And we're spending a lot of our own resources, by the way, Justice. If you look at what we're doing in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, look at what we've done in Burundi, in Rwanda, look at what we did in Cote d'Ivoire, for instance, look at what we did even in Zimbabwe itself. We've given it our best, because when at the National Conference of the ANC we decide that what is important for us is a better Africa and a better world, we need to contribute to that and not just say it.
But I would put it to you that today in Burundi, it's a country where the president is looking at extending his tenure essentially to being a life president. If I were to put it to you, you mentioned Zimbabwe, I would say to you that is signal failure on the part of South African diplomacy, because we have failed to stand on the side of social justice for the people of Zimbabwe and sided with Robert Mugabe, who wouldn't go away. And I point you particularly to the 2008 election, where major human rights violations were conducted by the Mugabe regime?
Firstly, when we go to a country, Justice, we are also guided by a mandate that is given to us either by SADC or the African Union itself. Both in Zimbabwe and in the other countries, we had a mandate. And we did fulfill our mandate, because if you go to Burundi, at the time that we were in Burundi, we stabilized. And by the way, the process of Burundi didn't start yesterday, only when recently. When I was the advisor to Minister Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, believe me, we crisscrossed that country. We went to camps where children were in very, very difficult conditions. We contributed towards ensuring that the camps are closed. We contributed towards ensuring that the refugees were returned from Tanzania. Let me finish.
Can we condemn the president of Burundi for the fact that right now his own people have, it's basically what the apartheid regime did in Mozambique by destabilizing people and making them refugees? That is what has happened.
You can't put the two together, by the way. The issue of Burundi, remember that there is this much that we can go as South Africa. We cannot necessarily interfere with the internal dynamics of a country. We can, as a country, say to them, if you agreed to being in government this long, and if you agreed that you're going to implement your own constitution, we support that. We do what we have to do and go, and then we have to see what happens. Now, when the president goes into a memorandum, not in a memorandum, they have had a referendum. When they go through a referendum, by that time, South Africa has already fulfilled its obligation in as far as creating the peace and stability is concerned. We leave it to the country. Same thing applies to the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Believe me, we've done the best that we could. However, we can't tell the Congolese, we can't tell President Kabila, no, now we want you to do this. It's SADC as a region and the people of the DRC that need to really take a step and say this is what they want.
Minister Sisulu has said, and I quote, South Africa was once a giant in the world because of what we represented. Can't we use our voice to say to leaders on this continent, elsewhere in the world, who continue to find ways around their constitutions to extend their tenure in office, and say that is not what we stand for as a country?
Absolutely. We have to continue saying that because if we don't say it, people are going to say, well, in South Africa, you respect your own constitution, but you are unable to tell others to do the same. We do, by the way. We continue to say to them, if you have a constitution, respect that constitution. But it's not our country. We can't wake up in the morning and say, okay, Burundi, do this, do that. We will advise. We will use every diplomatic means. We will use every avenue presented to us to engage with them. And I know, as being the chairperson of the international relations, we're engaging with countries even at party level to say to them, we want democracy, we want human rights, we want respect for human rights. We want Africa to be the next best thing for Africans, not for somebody else.
Is the idea of multilateralism dead in the United Nations? I look at the permanent countries, the permanent representatives, the P5 as they're called. There are divisions, the US, the UK and France on the one side, China, Russia on the one side. Can the idea work of multilateralism? In fact, on both sides, they're also divided.
It has to work. If we talk about a world order, we have to make sure that it works. But in the process of it working, you find that some countries become inward-looking and they only think about their own interests. They're what they call national interests. We also have national interests as a country in ensuring that we gain out of what we do. But at the same time, there are times when we need to look and say, what kind of world do we want to see? And sometimes we have to compromise here and there. Multilateralism has to work. It's very unfortunate that the current global challenges are really challenging multilateralism. And it's not people, ordinary people, that are challenging it. It's leaders who are in positions who are becoming very internal looking at situations.
That is the United States. That's Donald Trump.
Absolutely. It starts there because a lot of people are saying President Donald Trump can go and say what he wants and do what he wants at any moment. He can decide on any issue that's related to trade and so forth. But we can't give up Justice. We can't give up, because if we give up, we'll go back. I just came back from Brussels, and in Brussels there were talks about, oh, okay, there's a new wave in South Africa, there's a new way of doing things. The last time we had our summit with the EU was in 2013. That's quite a while back. They're now very enthusiastic, and they're saying, we want to talk. We had meetings today with the Embassy of the United States of America as the African National Congress, and we're having an engagement that says, look, we want to engage with each other, whether it's issues of Palestine and Israel and so forth. We need to engage, because the only way that the world can build a better world is by us really engaging with each other.
I like the sweater that you're wearing, so I'm going to ask you about the African National Congress, your organization. Can the ANC heal itself after the Nasrec conference, given what happened this past weekend in KwaZulu-Natal?
It doesn't have a choice, by the way. If members of the African National Congress in each and every corner where they are, if they go back to the purpose of why the ANC exists today. And by the way, for me, it's beyond the African National Congress itself. First and foremost, the African National Congress, in my view, is a buffer between poverty, unemployment, and inequality and those that have. ANC is the organization that majority of our people believe in. However, they're seeing that amongst ourselves, we do have some times when comrades forget about the fact that it's not about us, it's about the ANC.
Why
political education. That's what we lived on as members of the African National Congress. We never joined the ANC in 1976, 1978 for anything else other than the liberation of South Africa. South Africa is free today. There are many other interests that are coming into play. If we can be able to deal with those interests that come into play and make comrades forget about the main reason why they joined the African National Congress, it's not going to be easy, Justice. 25 years of democracy, building the ANC itself to be strong as an organization, ensuring that its own institutional processes are respected by all. It's never going to be easy, but those of us, and many I know, want to see the ANC being strong, but we must take the challenge and say, what do we do to make it better?
Lindiwe Zulu, I've run out of time, but I want to say
Thank you.
I think the ANC is about to split.
Split? Those who split from the ANC won't be ANC, they'll be something else. Those who remain in the ANC of 1912, they'll never split from the ANC. I can guarantee you that.
Lindiwe Zulu, thanks so much. After the break, our winner
pleasure.
and loser of the week.